Okay, so next we are going to work with controllers. So before in our video, we were handling a lot of the logic here inside of this closure. The right way to do this is to do this inside of a controller. So Laravel provides some really easy ways to generate a lot of scaffolding and controllers and all kinds of things we might need. So the first thing we're going to do is generate a controller. So we're going to write that as PHP artisan make controller. And let's give this controller a name. For now, let's just call this greeting controller. We're going to create a controller for posts for our blog in a little bit later. But for now, let's just create this as greeting controller. Okay, so it created a controller. Let's go over to our app. We're going to go into HTTP and then controllers. And you can see on the left-hand side, we've got a greeting controller here. There's nothing inside. So let's do this. Let's create a method here, and the method that we're going to create in here is what is going to handle that route. So let's just call it greet. So public function greet, and then name Chris as we had before. Return, what was the string that we had? Yeah, okay, let's just grab this and return that. So the difference here is that instead of passing this in, we're going to give it the controller that we want to do. So there's a few different ways to do this, but the way that I do it is I open an array, and the first item in the array is the class that the controller is. So it's going to be greeting controller. And this right here just means I want the class name as a string. Okay, so this is actually a string coming in. And you can see that my IDE actually, pardon me, actually pulled it in up here at the top. So this is the fully qualified namespace here. So I can either use this or like that. Like I could do this, for instance, without having to do the use statement up there. But it just makes it nicer to read. So we put that at the top and keep this like that. The next thing we need to do is pass in the method name. So the method name that we want to pass this to was greet, right? Okay. So now we've declared a route. When you get this request to this URL with this parameter, I want you to send it to this controller class. And inside of that class, the one I want you to use is greet. That's the method on that class that I want you to use to handle this route. And you'll see that we are declaring that here. So when we save that, we can refresh, and we still get the same output that we had before. Isn't that cool? Okay, so we moved our logic over to a controller. And this still works the same way. So if we have Chris, if we don't have a name there, it still defaults exactly how we do that. Okay? So now let's do something that is actually useful. Let's return a view. So what is a view? And I'll have a whole video dedicated to blade views, but I wanted to show you how to return one from a controller here. So we already have one here that ships with the default install of Laravel, and that's this welcome. And that's what you saw when we first got it running with Sail. So let's go ahead and return that. So let's just do return view welcome. So when I return a view from a controller, the way I do it is I use this view helper, and I pass in the name of the view. So notice that even though it's welcome.blade.php, I'm not putting any of that here. It just goes by this convention that you have welcome just by itself. So I'm not doing welcome.blade.whatever. It's just the name of the blade file. Let's save that. And we don't, well, I guess we don't. I guess we can keep that in there, but we don't really need that. Okay, so you can see that before we saw this view when we went to home, but now we see it when we go to greet. So you can see now that we are seeing this response here from our controller, and that's how we return a view from a route. And this is how we can show different pages on different routes. So that's it. We've created a controller to handle the request, and it returns a blade view. This is typically how we would handle routes inside of a production application. We would have different methods for different things. For instance, there might be a show or delete or create form. There's all sorts of different things that we want to handle, but this would all be done within a given controller for that specific domain. Okay. So next, what we're going to do is dive deeper into how to take something like name, put it inside of a view, and return it to the page.